do you guys remember this drive from Sergio Perez?
The man who was in last place at the end of lap 1 comes home to win the Sakir Grand Prix.
After getting taken out in lap 1, Perez went all the way from last to first to win the Grand Prix. On top of that, he would finish 4th in the Drivers' Championship that year while racing for Racing Point, which ultimately led him to secure a spot as Max's teammate on Red Bull next year. There's no denying that Max is Red Bull's #1 driver, but the reason Perez has been so valuable to Red Bull is when Max has not been at his best, Perez has been there to pick up the ball. In 2021, when Max DNF'd in Azerbaijan due to that sudden tire blowout, Perez went on to win the race. And then we all remember Perez in Abu Dhabi, who somehow held up Hamilton in order for Max to catch up, and then we know what happened after that. And he's been doing great individually so far as well. Here is all of Perez's finishes last year, which led him to finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. I mean, he should have finished 2nd, but we don't need to talk about
Sorry about that, Checo. Yeah, it shows who he really is.
So if Perez is a great driver who's proven himself individually and helped Max and Red Bull win driver and constructor championships, including this year, why did they suddenly want to replace him? And the only way I can describe it as, this is the Red Bull way. If you look at Red Bull's driver lineup since 2017, Max has never had a teammate who's lasted him more than 3 years. That's because Red Bull has known that Max will be their #1 driver for the foreseeable future. But they need his teammate to still qualify and perform well so they can line up next to Max and defend him from other teams. Unfortunately, that's where Perez has dropped the ball this year, qualifying. Here is all of Perez's qualifying results. He's failed to make Q3 8 times, and his average qualifying spot is 9th, which is very concerning considering how fast the Red Bull is compared to the rest of the grid. To Perez's defense though, his race pace has still been very good. He's won 2 races, and outside of that, he's been on the podium 6 times. I mean, he isn't 2nd in the Drivers' Championship for nothing. But Red Bull only care about performing when it matters, and with Hamilton closing the gap on P2 in the championship, Red Bull have given Perez an ultimatum: perform or you're out. But honestly, I think there's another reason Red Bull need Perez to show that he can perform under the pressure. They're a little bit worried about 2024. We've already seen the insane leaps McLaren have made with their car from the start of the season to now, and next year it's only going to be better. And we already see Piastri and Norris consistently qualifying and finishing right next to each other. So if next year Max is left by himself at the top to defend against both McLarens and then throw Mercedes or Ferrari in the mix, it's going to be very hard for Red Bull to get that 3rd consecutive Constructors' Championship. I honestly feel kind of bad for Perez, but these are the pressures you have to face when you are racing for the best team in F1 with one of the best drivers arguably ever as your teammate. Max has been on a tear this season, which makes it hard to look good even if you're a good driver like Perez. Do I think Ricciardo will do much better? To be honest, no one knows. I do think he's the only teammate in recent memory who's been able to keep up with Max, but a lot has changed in 4 years. But what we do know right now is that we can look forward to a battle for P2 in the championship.